In this month's Maggie Moment, I am talking teens again, and this time I want to explore what happens in the changes in the limbic brain. That's the emotional part of the brain, because this is another big change that you will notice that will impact your tween or your teen, and it can be really confusing. So what it means is that the emotional intensity increases. Yeah, I'm sorry, it does increase in this window. And you will notice that what was just a bit of sass might end up being really big emotions. And girls are very much going to respond, particularly around friendship dramas and the compare despair games that girls play. That can cause enormous angst for our girls. And where our boys are, they're often triggered by a perception of feeling excluded and not included in, a group of guys they want to be part of, or that they're weak, or that they've failed. So I want you to know this is another one of the things that happen in this window. The increase in the emotional intensity is a normal part of the teenage growth and development journey. I bet you can remember losing your schmick about something when you were a 14 and 15 and 16-year-old. I actually can remember a big fight with my parents. I lived on a farm and I took off and I slept in the bush that night. I was such a stubborn, highly emotional little girl. And so I've also had, a boy in my classroom who's thrown a desk, thrown a chair and punched his fist into a wall out of nowhere. And when we found out what was under it, he'd failed his maths test. So it took him 20 minutes to explode. So what can also happen as you're understanding this intensity has increased is there is a tipping point. We've all got a tipping point, but usually what we do with the prefrontal lobe, we'll go, gee, I'm stressed. I'm going to go and make myself a cuppa and, eat a Tim Tam, or if you're really healthy, or do a downward dog with some deep breathing. But you will take a step so you can lower the intensity of your nervous system. Our teens can't do that. And so often it's the last thing that flips them into a really big state of emotional outburst. And remember, girls often, it's going to be a verbal, and boys, it's often a physicality expression of big feelings. Or that is why some of them choose to intentionally self-harm themselves, because when they hurt themselves, it gives their nervous system a chance to reset. So keep that in mind. That's one thing that's at the top can be quite small, not necessarily a big thing, but an accumulation of many things. And if you can explain that to your teen, then they can start being aware of how am I feeling in my body and what is my stress level from 0 to 10. And maybe you can coach them on the things they can do. Explore options. Because seriously, this emotional world is a volatile whirlpool for them. And again, they didn't ask for it to happen, and it's an important stage of their development on the journey to becoming an adult.